Quinn present?
I'm here to assist the court with that matter, Your Honor.
Please come forward.
Can I enter the bar with full reservation of my rights?
Please come forward.
Let the record show I'm entering the bar with full reservation of my rights.
Mr. Yee.
Good morning, Your Honor. Your Honor, I filed a written motion to withdraw as counsel for Mr. Wynn back on July 24th of 2018. This matter was originally noted for last Thursday. I realized that I was not going to be present for that motion as I was out of town, so I re-noted it for today. I'm hoping the court had a chance to review the motion.
I did.
Great, thank you. Your Honor, as laid out in my motion, at this point I do not believe I can ethically represent Mr. Wynn due to a breakdown in communications. I can let the court know that throughout the course of my representation of Mr. Wynn, we've always gotten along, and we've never had any personal conflicts, for lack of a better term. However, throughout the course of my representations, I found that communications have increasingly began to break down. And at this point, I would characterize the breakdown in communication as complete and utter, as laid out in my motion. I don't believe there's any way for me to reasonably or rationally communicate with my client at this point. And due to that, I feel that if I continue to represent Mr. Wynn, I will be rendering ineffective assistance of counsel. And I believe that the ethical rules at this point and my interpretation of them require me to make a motion to the court to withdraw at this point.
Thank you, Mr. Yee. So I have a few questions
Yes.
with regard to your motion. Is it your understanding that if the court grants your motion, your office will appoint a different attorney?
Yes, Your Honor.
And is it your understanding that, given the breakdown of communication that you've described, that a new attorney would have a fresh start with your client?
I believe that would likely be the case, Your Honor. Obviously, I don't have a crystal ball or anything, so I can't predict what would happen in the future. But if there were a new counsel appointed for Mr. Wynn, which would happen if the court grants my motion, I believe that there's an opportunity for new communications to begin and for a fresh start, as the court indicated.
And have you discussed this motion at all with your client?
Yes, Your Honor. I have discussed this motion with Mr. Wynn. Mr. Wynn is actually in agreement with my motion, from what I understand.
And he understands, as you've explained to him, the potential results from your motion. Is that correct?
That's correct, Your Honor. I've explained all that to him.
And you believe he understood that
Yes, Your
communication?
Honor. I do believe he understands that, Your Honor. I can also let the court know, just as some additional information, there have been numerous motions by some of the co-defendants' attorneys to withdraw this case previously, and then those were granted for the exact same reason that I'm bringing right now.
Thank you. Anything else?
No, Your Honor. I'll stand on what I've presented to the court.
Thank you. Mr. Hu.
Good morning, Your Honor.
Good morning.
My name is Miko. I have no objection to Mr. Yee withdrawing, but I do have a question. If he were to withdraw, is there going to be another public attorney that will be appointed for defending?
So that was something I just discussed
Right, okay.
with Mr. Yee. Did you understand that discussion?
Right, but I'm also trying to have a motion to pro se, so I just have a motion that later on, after I get the defendant get appointed.
That motion is not before me today,
Okay.
okay?
Your Honor, if I may.
Yes.
I'll let the court know that Mr. Wynn has previously filed a motion to proceed pro se on this matter. That was heard before Judge Dixon a few weeks ago, and it was denied at that time without prejudice. And it's my understanding that Mr. Wynn continues to desire to represent himself. So obviously, if he wants to do that, he can renew his motion. But if I were to withdraw, substitute counsel would be appointed in the meantime. And obviously, the court can address Mr. Wynn's motion to proceed pro se after that occurs.
Mr. Wynn, anything else for today?
No, Your Honor.
Ms. Stone?
And my only concern, I think, is what Mr. Yee has already indicated, is that the consistent breakdown in communication appears to be a pattern with this defendant and quite plainly the group of defendants involved in this case with each of their counsel. I'm not sure how that issue gets resolved for further counsel. So I certainly have nothing in contrast to what Mr. Yee is saying. Based on my own observations, that appears to be 100% the case, and his motion is completely understandable. I just am concerned about how this case proceeds with the continued communication breakdowns between defense counsel and the defendants in the matter.
Thank you. The court at this time is granting the motion, and I'm going to assume that with new counsel, it is a fresh start, and that things will go better than they have with Mr. Yee. I appreciate the state's concern that there may be an issue that arises again. Frankly, if that were to happen, I'm not saying it's going to happen in this case, but it would certainly not be the first time. There have certainly been cases in the past where, you know, 1 or 2 or even 3 attorneys were unsuccessful in maintaining a relationship with a defendant such that multiple requests like that were made to the court. We're not there yet, so I'm not going to presume that that's going to happen. My presumption is that with a new attorney appointed and a fresh start, that things will go better and that this case may proceed. But again, if that doesn't occur, it will not be the first time, and the court will be ready to address that as it comes up.
Thank you.
So at this time, the court is granting the motion, and the Thurston County Public Defense will assign a new attorney to this matter.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Next, please, Your Honor, is docket item